Good afternoon. This is our regularly scheduled Churchill County Commissioner meeting. At this time, could you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment? Noting no public comment, can I get a verification of the post of the agenda, please?
Pam Moore for the record. The agenda was posted on October 10th between the hours of 8 and 11 at all of the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Pam. Can I get an approval of the agenda as submitted?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. 6, consideration and possible action, approval of the minutes of the meeting held on September 18th, 2024. A motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 18th, 2024.
Second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. We'll move on to our appointments. Our first appointment, 7A, update of current activities, plans, or actions related to the Bureau of Land Management, Carson City District.
Hello, I'm Shadra Rakestraw, the acting Stillwater Field Manager. Thank you for having me today. All right, so some updates with the National Defense Authorization Act. We have the National Defense Authorization Act Project Manager detail. Melanie Hornsby has now been hired permanently into the position, along with, of course, our realty specialist, land law examiner, and rangeland management specialist, all have started. And then also, the BLM has awarded the Sand Canyon NEPA baseline contractor, and we'll be having a kickoff meeting, I believe, this week with the contractor to discuss those starting those preliminary baselines discussions as well. With that saying, the BLM, Nevada Department of Agriculture, and the Navy meet regularly, of course, with the affected grazing permittees. Just a couple weeks ago, our team went out and met with some of the B16 permittees to discuss their AUMs for the BLM portion, I should say, of their grazing permit. And then with that, the BLM and BOR, we met in August, on August 19th, to discuss Section 2907 plan. And so within this 2907 plan is understanding the Churchill County's first and second, top 2 priorities to start the land exchange. And so currently there's this Newlands project that was submitted back in 2014-15 to BLM. Concurrences were submitted back to BOR in 2016. And so with that saying, we're working through the phasing of conducting a withdrawal revocation with the BOR to cover for the first 2 priorities of the land exchange from the 13,000 so acres there. So we have built out a timeline. We're working on generating an interagency agreement with BOR so we can start the process of the withdrawal revocation and NEPA steps with that. Typically, that process can take throughout the year, just depending on how fast BOR can get NEPA going and then our staff. So it'll be a process throughout the year, but as mentioned before to the board, our goal is to have an invite for a meeting with Churchill County and also with BOR to sit down, start discussing what the next steps are once we have the interagency agreement in hand and signed with the BOR to start now phasing the next steps. Also, I kind of mentioned we already hired the range specialist and land law examiner at the top. And then I kind of jumped down to recently met with the B16 affected grazing permittees in the office and also out in the grazing allotments. In addition, BLM, part of our meetings and field trips for the Great Basin, we participated also with State Route 361 last month. Great Basin, right now, the preliminary baselines are going on, hoping to have like all baselines finalized like in the spring of April 2025. And then with State Route 361, they're finishing up their baselines. And we'll get the reports, and our resource specialists, they'll review them and provide any type of feedback or concurrence on those reports. So State Route 361 is pretty moving ahead compared to Great Basin right now, of course, because we're just now having those full meetings with them about their preliminary baselines. Any questions? No? All right. All right, so for the Wild Horse and Burro, just some data updates for the Marietta Gather. There was concluded on August the 22nd. There were 296 wild burros and 25 wild horses gathered and removed. AML is 78 to 104 burros, was estimated to be at 387. So the horses were transported to Palomino Wild Horse Corral north of Reno, and the burros went to the Axel Range in Utah. They will be available for adoption, and we have received some adoption packages and placed them into our system as well. BLM is drafting the Lahontan Herd Management Area, Churchill County Gather NEPA. So right now it's at the planning stage. The range specialists and management met this week to discuss what the EA environmental assessment planning is going to be in the timeline there. And then for the North Complex, the Washoe County, this is the horse gather NEPA. North Complex would include the Flanagan, Doskin Mountain, Granite Peak, and herd management area. So Lahontan is pretty more like the priority right now. And it's going first before the North Complex. And that was kind of with the impact with what's going on with the National Defense Authorization Act as well. All right. So for geothermal projects, Dixie Metals, we're continuing our coordinating meetings with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Navy, and ORMAT, discussing those data needs for testing. We actually have a meeting coming up later this month with Fish and Wildlife Service to regroup. Last month, we met with ORMAT and Fish and Wildlife Service to talk about, what data we really are looking for with the Dixie Metals. Also, we submitted packages, a review package along with the environmental assessment that was sent out prior to the Walker River Paiute Tribe to review as well. And so we're just combing through this project as the opportunities come, any type of updates from these meetings. We take it back and we work with our hydrologists and Fish and Wildlife Service hydrologists as well to walk through some of those testing opportunities there. For Diamond Flat, the exploration, NEPA is in progress and working on, continuing to work on this timeline with the NEPA contractor. So that's pretty much the update for those two projects. All right. So GreenLink North, there was some activity, of course, yesterday. Well, it's in draft EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement for 90 days, and that ends on December 11th, 2024. The draft cultural report is in progress. So there was a virtual meeting last night from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And then also there are 3 in-person meetings coming up later on this month. You have one in Ely at Bristol-Colon Convention Center on October 29th. All of these are from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You have one in Eureka Opera House on October 30th, and then Sparks Nugget Casino Resort on November the 13th. So that's next month. Before I end, just some updates on like some SRPs. I kind of missed a slide here. This past weekend, there was the Legacy Go Rush SRP that happened from October 10th through the 13th. So Pit 2 was in Churchill County. So this week they're doing rehabilitation. So that means like grading, removing any road markers at that, and course elements as well. Over the past month, of course, there was Labor Day at Sand Mountain, and then also Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, this past weekend. So no big issues were reported to us, just a great weekend for folks to be out enjoying their holiday weekends. Any questions?
Any questions from board or staff on the BLM update?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to 7B, first reading, consideration and possible action regulating local tariff number 50 related to service charge for CC Communications.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Jim Stillwell. I'm a senior revenue analyst for CC Communications. Today, I'm presenting the first reading of proposed tariff changes to CC Communications local regulated tariff number 50, and also recommending a second public reading at the November 7th Commissioners' meeting. There are 4 proposed service charge labor rate changes to the local tariff 50. The construction, installation, and PBX rate will be $130 per hour. The engineering inspection rate will be $150 per hour. And the combo tech is going to be $130 per hour. These proposed rates are adjusted for inflation and are applicable to to business and residential services offered by CC Communications, and for contract or repair work furnished for others by CC Communications. These are all the requested changes at this time. Are there any questions on these rates?
Thank you, Jim. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to set the matter for a public hearing on November 7th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to 7C, consideration and possible action, Amendment 3 to the One Nevada Agreement on allocation of opioid recoveries. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Sanford for the record. This is an amendment to the One Nevada Agreement, which is our agreement setting how settlements for opioid litigation will be handled. It's across a great number of government entities throughout the state of Nevada. This amendment just adds additional potential defendants to our agreement. There's a number of potential defendants, specifically the Sackler Trust members who were not approved through their bankruptcy, and so they are potential defendants, and we are adding them. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amendment on the One Nevada Agreement on allocation of opioid recoveries.
Second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. 7D, consideration and possible action, adoption of Resolution 18-2024, declaring property of Churchill County as surplus and authorizing the disposal of said property in any manner. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Joe Sanford for the record. This is another resolution declaring surplus property, the most important and critical of which is an old fire truck. It is held in the county's name, and so this would be a sale that would inure to the county. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? A motion, please.
I move to adopt Resolution 18-2024 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 7E, consideration and possible action, appointment of Jim Barbie to the Central Nevada Health District Board of Health as a Churchill County's representative to fill Pete Olson's remaining unexpired 2-year term. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is Joe Sanford for the record. According to the bylaws of the Churchill County's agreement with the Central Nevada Health District, we are authorized to have 2 members on the board, and we also have Justin as our medical doctor. Pete Olsman has been serving as a member on this board, but has submitted his resignation. Jim has been our prior representative and has agreed to continue to serve in that capacity.
Any questions or comments for Joe? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jim Barbie to the Central Nevada Health District Board of Health as a Churchill County representative to fill Pete Olson's remaining unexpired 2-year term.
Second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 7F, consideration and possible action, approval of the job description and pay scale for the position of juvenile outreach specialist and authorization for human resources to begin recruitment process immediately. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Chris Frost, Churchill County Assistant County Manager and HR Director. So the reason I'm here today is to request approval on a job position, a job description, and a pay scale. The job that we're looking at creating is called a Juvenile Outreach Specialist. This job would be under the Juvenile Probation Office Department and fall under LALO. So this position is being created so that the county, through early intervention and counseling, can better serve the needs of some of our at-risk youth by providing and referring support services. There's also other benefits. One of the primary reasons for this position is to garner some control over some of the issues that we're currently having at the library. So that would be a function of this position as well. We are requesting that this position start out at a grade 52, which at a step 1 is equivalent to $26.50 an hour. The funding for this, the Churchill County School District has agreed to pay 50% of the salary of this position, which means that the county has to pick up the balance, which is roughly $45,187. We have been researching, and we have procured and identified some grant funding that's available to help pay for a portion of this. Unfortunately, we've also found some additional costs that will be associated with the position, such as training, travel for training, and things like that. So ultimately, when it's all said and done, the county's portion of this would end up being, just a little bit over $23,000 a year. And this is something that we want to get going sooner rather than later. So the second part of this request is to authorize myself and my department to begin the recruitment action as soon as this is approved, if it is approved. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Is there any questions or comments for Chris?
Chris, will this position be going out to their homes too, or their houses, or is it just going to be the library and the detention center?
I'll jump in, Chris. Thank you. For the record, Jim Barbie, County Manager. So in the conversations and the meetings that we had between the mayor and the superintendent of public instruction, Miles has been involved in some of those conversations. We really went from basically the issues that we were having directly with middle school students and their interactions at the library following the school day, and trying to, for lack of a better way to say it, police their activity, to an approach that LALO brought forward, which is a replication of something that they're utilizing in Carson City through their JPO program there, where they're really looking at the problems themselves and finding the resources to intervene with those students that are having challenges or troubles, or youth that are having challenges and troubles, prior to it elevating and becoming a larger issue that would entail JPO or the court system or other law enforcement along the way. So by working with the school district, they'll have access to school records and truancy and some of those items, and you'll see some of those things kind of scattered through. And that's exactly the point. They'll be able to start developing relationships with these individual students, with their families, and really look for a way to mitigate the problem directly rather than just responding to the outward action that we're experiencing there. So we're very hopeful that this is probably something that's been needed for some time in the community that we haven't had. It's I don't want to say it's a knee-jerk, but it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to an existing problem that we have. But we were able to slow down enough and really take a good look at what's working in other places and try to implement something that's going to be beneficial and make a big impact over the long term. So does that kind of, that's where we're coming from, and that's why the request. But that is, to be very clear, why we're asking for the request to be expedited and coming outside of budget, because it really is responding to an emergency situation. And I will say in the beginning, this position will spend a tremendous amount of time after school at the library engaging with these individual students. But over time, that will become less and less, because it'll be probably more integrated with the school and kind of through that system there, so that we can try to fix the problem. But to start with, that'll be the main goal. And if you see the list, there's a lot on there, and that's Lalo's appropriately so concern, is there's a tremendous amount on there. But I think we're just going to kind of move through those in terms of priority and leave that to Lalo and his staff. And we have all the confidence in the world in his leadership on this. So we really appreciate him stepping up. And while I got the mic, I want to thank the city, want to thank Mel at the library, a multitude of folks that have come out and helped us over the past several weeks in working through this problem, City PD and such.
No, I think it's a great idea. So, great.
Any other questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If not, a motion, please.
I move to approve the job description and pay scale for the position of juvenile outreach specialist at a grade 52, step 1, $26.50 per hour, and to authorize human resources to begin the recruitment process immediately.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Did anyone want to
Thank you.
pull? Thank you, Chris. Did anyone want to pull any of the letters received? Okay, we'll move on to new business, 9A, consideration and possible action, revocation of appointments and official oaths for people who are no longer serving in that capacity of that position or have a more recent oath on file. Pam?
Pam Moore for the record. This is an item that we do periodically. It's a housekeeping item so that we don't leave a whole bunch of official oaths out there on the official records for people in positions or serving on boards that we no longer need. Some of these, you will see that they are still serving in capacities, but they have a newer oath on file. So I'm just asking for your approval to revoke those oaths.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? If not, a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the revocation of appointment and official oaths for the people listed on the document who are no longer serving in that capacity or have a more recent official oath on file.
Second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Pam. Did anyone want to pull anything on the consent items? If not, a motion to approve that, please.
I move to approve the consent items.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Does anyone have anything they want to consider for a future agenda item? Okay, if not, we'll move to Commissioner and Management Staff reports. Go ahead, Justin. We'll start.
I have nothing to pass at this time.
I had an RTC board meeting this morning, at a fire board last week, and then a library meeting last week as well. Buzz?
Nothing.
Sherry?
We just have the auditors in town, and that's all we're doing. Well, we're doing more than that, but
Did we pass?
it takes a while to pass. End of November.
Joe?
Nothing right now.
Jim? Pam?
I would just say that mail ballots are coming into our office on a regular basis, and early voting starts on Saturday and will run for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, Pam. One more thing I did want to add is that our new library director has started, Kathy Thorson at the library, so if you're running into her, welcome her to the team of Churchill County. At this time, is there any public comment? Okay, we stand adjourned.